follow me when the sky starts to change. Yeah, we won't be afraid. We'll never be the same again.
What is going on, guys? This is Drop This Box, and I am here with Watkins tonight to cover SmackDown. And it was a pretty good show compared to last week. It was a definitely a lot better. But what happened within this episode of SmackDown tonight? We have the women's title on the line. Tiffany Stratton's first title defense, which kudos to her. And she went up against one of the four horsewomen, Bayley. And that match was awesome. I'm glad the ladies had the opportunity to main event today. And then we also have Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens when it comes to their feud. We'll touch on that when it comes to exactly what transpired there, because you guys could probably tell around this point we're just waiting until the Rumble, because they pretty much did everything that they possibly could for the match itself. So we're just waiting for the Rumble at this point. And then we also have our mid-card stories when it comes to the Bloodline saga, Solo Sikoa's big return. A lot of interesting stuff happened there. There was an interesting report from WrestleVotes that actually dropped earlier talking about the original plans that we will bring up once we go over it. And compared to the original plans, I like the direction they went down tonight. And also what took part of that was also Jimmy Uso versus Carmelo Hayes. It was a pretty good match. I'm glad they got some time to shine there. We also have Los Garza versus Motor City Machine Guns. The match cooked. Really like how SmackDown is bringing back that feeling for tag team wrestling that's been missing for a couple years, so that's really nice to see. We have Bianca Belair and Naomi versus Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. We've seen this match before, but I understand why they're doing it. They're trying to build into the whole story of Bianca and who attacked Jade. Some interesting things actually happened there when it came to a backstage segment that me and Watkins will touch on, as well as Jade's remarks online that we also will be bringing up as well. The B-Fab versus Piper Niven, giving some love to the mid-card division for the U.S. title. And let's just jump into the show, because this should be a fun discussion, because we definitely have a lot to talk about. And I almost forgot to mention, the Queen is coming back soon. And we'll dive into her and give our thoughts on how we want to see everything transpire with her. So let's jump right in.
With anime in our souls and thoughts of wrestling out of control, we are a group of weebs who love the entertainment of professional wrestling. So allow us to be the voices inside of your head as we go through the wrestling event of the evening, give our thoughts and predictions of what's to come, and provide an experience inclusive to all you nerds out there. So grab your steel chair, yell for the table, and get put through an experience unlike any other. We are brought to you by Animal We Studio, and this is the Weebs of the Ring podcast. Welcome and salutations, ladies and gentlemen, to the show. SmackDown, like Drop said, was pretty dang good this week. A lot better than last week. At least from what I could see. I had a few buffering issues on my end, but that's neither here nor there. We'll talk about the show. We'll break it all down. But as always, if you're new here and you don't know who we are, well, quick introductions, I suppose. I am your reigning, defending, undisputed, universal world heavyweight champion, Watkins, here to kind of give you the SmackDown lowdown on this beatdowns that we had tonight. And of course, I'm never alone in this endeavor. Normally, we have the visionary Vash here, but he has to deal with some Jerry's tearing down his house and all that, and ripping doors off of hinges and all that. He's really got to get a hold on those things, because like they're starting to gain some power. But as always, we have the man who can help us process all these stories going on, the genius of the mat himself. Drop this box. Drop, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. And one thing I just want to say is when it comes to the main roster shows, because NXT wasn't really all that for me this week, but Monday and Friday shows, when it comes to the main roster shows, I thought they did pretty good. And entering this new era when it comes to WWE with the Netflix deal and everything around that, and especially building into WrestleMania season, I felt like this is what we should be seeing on television throughout these.
Mm-hmm. Yep, no, I agree. Like we're still looking through our menu before heading on to the road to WrestleMania and all that. So we're still seeing, what's going to taste good, what's not going to taste good, what we're going to have for like our appetizers at Stand and Deliver, possibly. Like, I mean, there's some theories about going on with there. But yeah, let's kind of just dive into the show here, because again, it was a really good show, I thought. And I mean, there was a lot of good action, a lot of good matches and all that. Some were all right, fine, whatever. But again, we're pushing towards this Saturday night's main event, pushing towards Royal Rumble, starting Mania and all that. So let's start off with the first title defense of Tiffany Stratton taking on Bayley for the not the first time ever, but the first time for a title right here. Now, the story going into this is the fact that Tiffany has apparently never beaten Bayley one-on-one. Okay, cool, neat, awesome. And we got a couple interview segments tonight to kind of help build for the match. Bayley talking to Byron Saxton, saying, about a year ago I won the Rumble. I was looking to kind of elevate the women's division and all that, but all came to a screeching halt because, hey, Tiffany wanted to be under Nia Jax's thumb and all that. And then Tiffany saying that she made Tiffstory or something. I don't know. I'm sorry. The Tiffany puns, sometimes they work and sometimes they don't for me. I was not feeling the Tiffstory thing or whatever, but that's neither here nor there. They had an awesome match. Like, I'm just gonna come out and say it right now. Like, for months, ever since Tiffany's been with Nia, she's kind of looked like a stooge a bit, and I don't know if that was just by design for Tiffany's grand master plan and all that. But here tonight, she looked really good in the ring, and hopefully reminded people why she's in the position that she is, and why she was given the chance to work with the Money in the Bank briefcase and all that. But yeah, talk to me, Drop. What did you think about the match, and I guess like the story going into this? Again, because like they were trying to push this whole idea of that Tiffany's never beaten Bayley one-on-one. So already off the bat, we have our champion in this underdog position. But talk to me. What do you think about everything?
So I really like the direction that they went with this, because when you put Tiffany Stratton in her first title reign, you obviously want to make sure that her first title match, you obviously want to make sure that it stands out, something that a lot of us can look back at and remember. And Bayley has been with the company for years on end. If you guys follow Bayley in the early stages of her NXT career and everything that she happened to do over there, Bayley was the perfect opponent for Tiffany to go up to. And I really appreciated the story heading into this when Bayley was saying how she wanted to rebuild the women's title, how Tiffany never beat her, which is a story in itself, because getting a win over Bayley does wonders, just like getting a win over a Becky or a Charlotte, or like Bianca did all those years ago when she got that win over Sasha Banks. That just put them on another level. So I really liked the direction that we went down with that, because I thought both of these girls did great tonight. I liked how this match was the main event of the show, because here or there we do get the woman main eventing the shows. For the most part, it's been pretty consistent. So we have been seeing it a lot recently, which I really do appreciate. But for the most part, you either see something with Cody or KO or something with the Bloodline. So it was nice to have that change when it comes to the woman main eventing the show, because me as a viewer is looking at that as a fan saying, okay, they want the audience to look at Tiffany as a real deal. They want people to know that, yes, this is going to be the next star that we're going to be pushing the next 5 to 6, 7 or so years when Becky and Bayley and Charlotte are no longer with the company, just like what they did with Lyra on Monday.
Mhm.
They're trying to build all of these stars so they have people that are standouts in the near future. So when you have them going up against newcomers around that time where it's like, holy shit, Tiffany's having a match with so-and-so. This is somebody that came fresh off of NXT, and Tiffany's already established talent, just like Lyra and whoever else is around that time, Roxanne Perez, whoever else is around that time. These are the people that, honestly, if I had kids now, this would honestly be a woman in that division that they would grow up with. Because for us, it was
Mhm.
Becky, Bayley, and Charlotte and all of them. But let's say me and you had kids now, this would probably be the ladies that they would grow up with and see on a regular day basis when it came to, seeing them on the television and seeing their career from square one and just seeing it progress throughout the years. But I really liked this. I really liked how
Mhm.
everything was structured behind this.
Yeah, and what's crazy too when you think about it is and correct me if I'm wrong with my history knowledge on this, but we're nearing the 10-year mark of like the women's revolution and all that,
Yeah.
or evolution and all that. So like we're nearing that time where like Becky, Sasha, and Charlotte came up to the main roster. So with that being said, like we're nearing the time where it's time for the next generation to kind of move on up. Time for them to kind of start making a name for themselves. And Tiffany's one of the front runners for all that. Soon we're going to be having Roxanne Perez and most of the other people in NXT coming up for that. I mean, we got Julia and Stephanie Vaquer down there who are doing wonders at the moment. You got Julia holding down the women's main event scene. You got Stephanie Vaquer, holding down the mid card scene until they both inevitably clash with each other. But like we have the future now coming up and about to be on the main roster and really push the women's division to new heights. And it's really something awesome to see because like back then, with the women's revolution and all that, like it was more of a, hey, we need to step out of what we've been known as like these divas and all that, and
Mm-hmm.
we need to show that, hey, we're more than just divas.
Yeah.
We're women's wrestlers.
Yeah.
And like now again with this next generation coming through, it's like, okay, we're women's wrestlers. We've established that. How can we push the bar further? And it's just nice to see that 3 out of the 4 horsewomen are doing the work for that.
Yeah.
I mean, say what you want about the other one who's in another company, and trust me, there's a lot you could say about that run that she's having, but it's like at least we're getting those that are pushing forward, because like Bayley, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this, and I don't care if anybody disagrees with me. Whatever. That we all have opinions, but I'm gonna say that Bayley is probably the best one out of the 4 horsewomen, because like here's the thing: Becky has really good character. She has a really great character and all that. Charlotte might be the best in ring, you know. And again, these are all arguments you can all have and all that. Sasha, I mean, I have biases against Sasha, so that's just that's just me with her. But like with Bayley, she's probably the most consistent in the ring. Like in the ring, in her promo work, she's probably the most consistent. And not only that, she's somebody that is willing to put people over and to really do the job and make somebody look really good. And tonight was no exception to that, because she lost to Tiffany Stratton clean. Now we all thought Roxanne was going to get involved and like be on the show and do something and cost Bayley. It's just like, well, no, she didn't. Like they had the one stare off near the end of the match, but really Tiffany did this by herself. And again, like that's how you elevate your star, because at first you think, oh, she cashed in Money in the Bank. She says, oh, she took advantage of Nia. It was all part of her plan, a big old Eisen move. And you think, okay, well, for months, again, she was looking like a dweeb or, looking like just a random goon or whatever for Nia. But like tonight proved again just how good she is in the ring, because especially near like the last third of that, where like they would do a big move, they would go, either of them would go for a cover, and then as soon as the person kicked out, they would immediately go to a submission. Like that's the stuff that like really makes you think. Like that's that in-ring psychology. That's that in-ring storytelling of like, okay, they are desperate to win. Like it was commentary too that made a note that Tiffany is facing a different Bayley here, because it's one thing to face Bayley one-on-one, or really to face anybody one-on-one. It's another thing when they're chasing and they're hungry for a title. Bayley's one of those people that like she'll kick out of stuff. She will continue fighting until she is near incapacitated and all that. But yeah, man, I was really happy, really satisfied with tonight's main event. Plus, again, they main evented, which is awesome to see, and we have other women's segments to talk about later on tonight too. But it's just really good to see the women excel the way they are right now, and to really just keep pushing their envelope forward. But as I take a sip of water really quick, now we talk about Bayley, we talk about Tiffy, and her reign and all that. Tiffy's reign just started. Now before the match, like right before the match,
and they did it intentionally too.
Oh, they knew what you, Triple H. We know what you were doing. Yeah. We know what you were doing with this little placement,
as well as other people.
Oh yeah,
too.
yeah.
Like I don't want to take credit from other people. I'm pretty sure it's like a lot of people are probably on the same ballpark when it comes to Tiffany's WrestleMania direction. But yeah, let's actually reveal the big elephant in the room.
Oh my gosh, we had a vignette for the Queen herself, Charlotte Flair. She is coming back. I'm excited. Like I've always been a big Charlotte fan. I know, Sydney, you get to meet Charlotte Flair this year. Isn't that great? Yeah, you weren't really around.
She's wearing the colors too.
She is. But yeah, so Charlotte's gonna be coming back. A lot of people speculating Royal Rumble. So return at the Royal Rumble, great. Me and Drop, before we started, we're kind of talking a little bit about like how Charlotte can get to Tiffy, whether it's like through the Rumble or through the Elimination Chamber. But it kind of sounds like me and you both are kind of in agreement where it might be a chamber win for her.
Yeah, I'd rather it go down that direction, because it's like, I understand the whole thing because we've seen it done before. This isn't the first time. But it's like, I understand the whole thing when you get that big return at the Rumble, kind of like Edge did all those years ago, and then he won the thing, I believe, right?
Not that year. I think it was the year after that, 2021.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's like, we've been there before where a certain superstar returned, and then they got the Rumble win. I mean, I guess you could bring up Cody from like WrestleMania 39. It's like, we knew that was actually... Yeah, WrestleMania 39, where it's like he came back from his injury, he won the thing. I do realize that there was complaints with that, only because he came out at 30. A lot of people wanted to see him struggle a little bit earlier on, which I understand that. Makes sense. Because it's like, you want to see the person struggle throughout the match to get to that spot. And my whole thing with Charlotte, well, when it comes to me, I don't want Charlotte to win the Rumble, only because she's been away from television for so long. And it's like, to me, and this is no anything against her, because I love Charlotte. I've been a big fan for years. But when it comes to like the whole thing where it's like we see a big name return at a Rumble and win after being away for TV for so long, I don't know if I'm a big fan of that. It's like a similar thing with like the whole John Cena thing. This is his retirement year. A lot of people want him to win the Royal Rumble. I'm not even a fan of that, because I like the whole thing where it's like if you return, I want to see you struggle a little bit. And yes, you could argue you
Yeah.
could struggle in the Royal Rumble, but at the same time, it's like I'd rather see Charlotte do something different than return and win. I'd rather see her return at the Rumble. She gets close, but she doesn't do it. But she has another opportunity because the Elimination Chamber. So then she goes through a couple matches on SmackDown. She qualifies it. She puts herself in there. She busts her ass off. She defeats, what is it, like 6 people in there? 5, 6? I don't remember.
Yeah, including her would be 6.
Okay. So it's like she goes up against the other competitors in that match. And if you really want to see, you know, how much Charlotte has evolved since we last saw her, especially when it comes to Elimination Chamber match, which can get pretty chaotic in itself, I'd rather see her go on a little path of adversity where it's like she gets close to the Rumble, she doesn't win, and then you have her qualify for the Chamber. She goes to the Chamber in Canada, and then she gets through all of that hell in the Chamber, and then she gets her ticket to WrestleMania to go against Tiffany Stratton. I would like that a lot more because it just seems cheesy to me just to have somebody return and win. That's why when a lot of people say the whole thing with Cena, oh, Cena could do the same thing. He could, this is his last year. He should give him the Rumble. I understand it. And trust me, if it happens, okay, I get it. But to me personally, it just seems very cheesy because it's like, I like seeing that struggle. And like the Royal Rumble, you could use that as an argument against me, of course. But it's like, I mean, return, win. I just feel like I just want to see a little more than that. I don't want it to be done like, okay, it happens like that. Now we know what's happening with Tiffany. I mean, like, no, I want to see like some unpredictable stuff for once. I don't want it. I don't want it to be that easy. And plus, it's like, oh, like you brought up earlier before we went on air. It's like the whole thing where it's like, oh, they might want to push for somebody being a 2-time Royal Rumble winner. And you got people that are going to be in that match, like Charlotte, Becky Lynch, Bianca, Asuka, if she's back around that time, that's won the Rumble before. They could possibly do something like that. But I'd rather it be Io only because Io's been on TV. We've been with her throughout the year. She's been busting her ass off, and I'd rather see her get that big moment because a lot of people are really pushing for that. I just want to see Io get that special moment because we've seen Charlotte point at the sign, and it's not. I'm not saying if it can't happen again because it very well could. Everything I'm saying right now could be complete bullshit. But just speaking from my perspective, I just want to see that moment where it's someone new pointing at the sign, and we see how their career takes off from there. Look at Rhea Ripley, her first Royal Rumble win that she won. She struggled. She was there in the beginning. And we obviously knew there was a story prior to that where she was struggling as well. And then we get her pointing at the sign. And look how much her career propelled after that whole match that she had with Charlotte. Like that pretty much put her on the map. Like people cared about her before, but that's what really kicked everything into gear there. But I just feel like it's basically the whole point I'm trying to get across is new names for the Royal Rumble winners. I'm not always a fan of a 2-time unless it calls for it. I just feel like I just want to see something new. That's me. It could be biased because I'm a big Io fan, but I just rather see something new. That's all.
Yeah. No, don't trust me. I get you because like I'm on the Io train too, where like I want her to win the Rumble and all that, and you know I share your sentiments of like okay, I want more of a struggle because like. I mean, this isn't really pertaining to like Rumble winners, but like that's been my thing with like Cody. It's like I want Cody to struggle a little bit more as the champion.
Yeah.
You know, instead, you know, he's reaching that point. Well, we'll talk about him more later, but it's like I just want to see more struggle going for the people I want to cheer for. You know, I want them to like overcome these obstacles and like truly earn these victories and all that. And you know, I get it with like the whole Charlotte thing. It's like, and I said this too before we went on air. For me, it's like. Yes, I want Io to win. That's what my heart wants, you know. Yeah. But like my mind also it starts kind of thinking and also starts being like, okay, well, you know, I could see WWE pulling that card where it's just like, okay, well, we've had about like 7 of these now. Let's have our first 2-time winner now because like I could see them giving that to Charlotte, as the big return and all that. Like,
if you're doing that,
I can just see that happening.
If we're doing that, if you give her a 2-time Royal Rumble win, then I don't know if it's fair to really. I don't know if you want to dive into the next thing. If she wins the Rumble or Chamber, what we personally think the result should be.
Oh, the result. Personally, the result should be Tiffany going over.
Yep.
But like
you give her again, you give her an accolade like that, you might as well just have Tiffany go over. I mean, like the whole thing is, it's like, I understand that we sometimes still have that old regime in our head when it comes to things that are imprinted in our head, where we always expect it to happen. Like we discussed earlier, we expected Roxanne to cost Bayley the match. That's just been a WWE 101 thing that happens every single time, and it still happens every so often. But I like how Triple H, I can't really say he makes us think that. It's just we're just so used to seeing those things, and it doesn't happen. Like it was a clean win that Tiffany had tonight. That's a nice change. Something a little bit different that we don't usually expect. But it's like, like if I was booking the match, I would have Tiffany go over. Mainly because you want to keep building these new stars. You want to have people to lean on in the future. Let's say hypothetically, Charlotte is doing some side projects, like say, because, at this point, her and Becky are doing like some stuff outside of WWE. Like I know Becky's doing some stuff at Happy Gilmore too. She's going around doing these interviews and stuff of her book, like we saw. I think I heard Charlotte was recently in like some sort of movie or TV show or whatever. So it's like they're doing all these side projects. So it's like, let's say hypothetically, they're doing all these side projects and stuff like that, and they're not available at the time. They're off for like a couple months or so. If you have these established talents like a Tiffany Stratton, like a Lyra Valkyria or Roxanne Perez in the future, you can lean on them just in case you're like, oh, hey, Lyra, I need you. Oh, hey, Tiffany, I need you. Oh, hey, Roxanne, I need you. I want to put you in this title picture, or I want to put you in this program that's going to help propel your career even more. So it's like, if you have them as established stars where they get the reactions like Tiffany does and people really care about them and everything. And you look at the already established stars, their main job, besides getting in ring with the talent, is also helping bring the best out of them. And that's something I could see Charlotte doing with Tiffany Stratton, like bringing that side of Tiffany Stratton that we haven't seen yet. Because me and Watkins are in agreement that when Charlotte comes back, she should come back as a heel, because that's the Charlotte I always loved. Like I'm a big fan of Charlotte. But Charlotte just works as a heel. You look at her father, not saying she has to be exactly like her father, but you look at, let's say, like, when you play video games or you read books or TV shows or watch movies or whatever, a queen is like usually selfish. They think they're above all. They think, oh yeah, she could easily come back and be like, well, I'm a 14-time champion. I did all these different kinds of things. I main evented a WrestleMania before. I did all of this. I did all of that. I achieved more than you did. Like, you could brag all you want about being on the main roster for 1 year, which I know for a fact is going to be a main talking point that Charlotte is probably going to bring up in their feud, where she's like, oh yeah, okay, you came up 1 year, you won the title and everything like that, but I still have a lot out of you. That's the kind of thing you want, because then you want to be like, okay, how is Tiffany Stratton going to refute that? How is she going to overcome that obstacle that Charlotte just threw at her? That just helps establish Tiffany's character a lot more. Just like how a lot of complaints with Lyra, where people are like, well, Lyra's great in the ring, but she's not as charismatic like a Becky Lynch or whatever. Becky Lynch is probably one of the best people that could really bring that side that we haven't really seen out of them before. And that's something that you see from a lot of wrestlers. Like, I even remember Seth Rollins brought up in a Chris Van Vliet interview. He says when he gets in the ring with people, and he's very confident with what he says, and I believe him, he says he always brings the best out of everybody that he's in a match with. I mean, for fuck's sake, he gave Omos probably his best match on the main roster, and a lot of people are looking at that match like, I don't know how to feel about that. But Seth Rollins proved his point. He likes bringing the best out of people. He likes showing off that side of them that not a lot of people see. And Charlotte can easily do something like that with Tiffany. And I feel like the heel character and whatever story that they're going to go on, which I hope it's told well and it has time to marinate and everything, especially with a
Yeah.
3-hour show, because that's something you definitely need to build these stars.
Yeah, and for as long as we're gonna have these 3-hour shows, like I think the last report I saw was about May or June.
Yeah.
We're gonna be going back to 2 hours. So like while we have these 3-hour shows, yeah, use them to build up these stars and start making people. I mean, yeah, I mean I've complained my fair share about 3-hour shows and all that, but like when they're done right, they're done really well. Like this week, for example, I thought this week's show was really well paced and all that, but we'll get into that overall thoughts later on. But it's like, you use the time wisely that you have for the talent that you have, so that way you can continue to build your future and all that. And yeah, you got the stars now, you got the talent now, where like you can really build that future, because like that's one thing that we were missing in the old regime. And I'll bring this up now, because like I saw a bunch of complaints earlier about like, oh, we're getting B-Fab versus Piper Niven. Ugh. It's just like, okay, this is the point of having that mid-card title, because now we can have women mid-card stories that have a little bit more meaning to them behind them. Now they're fighting for a title. Now they're fighting for there's a bigger reason for them to fight and all that. And yeah, oh, it's B-Fab versus Piper Niven. Okay, but that's the thing. These are two women that don't really get too much time on the main roster, or let alone singles matches, especially Piper Niven. Like, she's been having a lot more singles matches lately, which I approve of. And B-Fab, I mean, commentary even said this is the first singles match he's had on TV since like November. And I mean, say what you will about that, but like that was 2 months ago. And now she's back on TV, and she's actually having time, like a little bit of time in a match to actually do something, So, and that's the whole point of all this, is like we're building that future. And yeah, when Charlotte comes back, whether she wins the Rumble, whether she wins the Elimination Chamber, again, just make it make sense, so that way when we get to Mania, when we get that match, we can see just the story that we're trying to play on here. Because like you were saying, like Charlotte, there's a lot that Charlotte can like pull out of all this. Because like a lot of people are saying, oh yeah, Tiffany had a great first year and all that stuff. Well, look at Charlotte's first year. Like, she won I mean, back then the main title was the Divas title, but she won that in like the first like couple months that she was on the main roster. Like, she could pull from that. She could pull the whole like, again, I'm the 14-time women's champion, blah blah blah. We won't mention the whole hot potato that she had to make that, but that's neither here nor there. But it's like she could also pull the whole thing. Like, I was the first women's champion when they decided to bring that name back. Okay, great, awesome. And I think there was a couple other firsts I'm just like blanking on right now. But like,
probably has to do like
there's a lot of
cell matches, all that kind of stuff.
Yep. There's another one, main eventing, being one of the first female main events at a pay-per-view, let alone WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot to Charlotte's acumens and like her titles and like all the stuff that she's won and all that stuff. Like, there's a lot that she could pull from to just remind us of who she is, and to kind of put that doubt in Tiffany Stratton for her to eventually, beat Charlotte. But like, again, with me, it's all about the execution. This is what I wanted to bring up too. It's like, we had mentioned, like in the old regime, we would have seen Roxanne Perez cost Bayley the title, but we didn't get that tonight. And you had brought up, sometimes we see that with Triple H. He does that. And this has always been my thing with tropes. We see this in many TV shows, a lot of movies. Like, you have those tropes that you're just like, ugh, here we go again. But for me, it's always these stories are always going to have tropes. Wrestling is always going to have their tropes.
Yeah.
It's all about how you use them in your story, and how you use them to like motivate your characters and build upon what they're going to be doing and all that. And like, we would expect the trope being, oh, this person's starting a feud with this other person, time to ruin their match. Like, a good example. Last week, we had LA Knight kicking out Jacob Fatu. And so immediately you're thinking, okay, here's the trope. He messed with some heels, and he says, oh, time to win my title back, he's immediately going to lose that match, not get his title back. Now, granted, technically he didn't lose the match, but he didn't get his title back because, hey, actions have consequences and all that. So it's just things like that where it's just like, okay, that trope was still there. It was done in a different way than just like, oh, we're going to cost you the match so you can never get the U.S. title again. But, like, we're going to make sure you don't walk out with that championship because, you know, hey, fuck you, dude, and all that. So, again, just it's all about how you utilize your tropes. And Triple H does a really good job with doing that. Now, you know, he does have his errors, too, with that, but, you know, none tonight that I saw, at least. But, I mean, we speculated a lot with the women's title and where we're going with it all. Anything else you wanted to add here? Because I mean, again, like the match was really good.
The only other thing I really want to add is I did see something on social media that does tie into this when it comes to Roxanne Perez, because one thing I do want to bring up is a lot of people were speculating that Roxanne Perez was going to be on the show tonight just based on what happened on NXT on Tuesday, because Roxanne was going to address her future in NXT. Bayley came out, they had a little thing go on there that extended to Friday, and she was watching her match, and you saw that stare down. She recently said on Tuesday, she recently said with like a little backstage segment she called out Bayley to come out on NXT to show her some pointers on how to be a champion because she's not a champion anymore, which I assume is probably my mindset originally was WrestleMania, but I think it's gonna be that the January 28th show that they have the women's title match and everything. So I feel like you're probably gonna get the match set for Roxanne and Bayley at that show. And
see, I think it's gonna be a stand and deliver.
Yeah, very well could, depending on how much they draw it out. But it's like my whole thing with like the Roxanne situation is I mean, if you're beating Bayley on that show, I mean, you might as well just head up to the main roster after that, because there really isn't anything that she's doing. Because I thought there was going to be one more match of her and Julia. It doesn't seem like it's direction because her mindset is focused on Bayley now. So it's like, I mean, there's only so much you could do. I would hope the payoff is you see her at that Rumble, and then that could be like her official call up, and you see her on a SmackDown or a Monday, because we still need to get this whole transfer window thing officially over and done with, so we know exactly where everybody's doing. So my end point with her is at the Royal Rumble, so hopefully we get a clear indication of what she's doing, because I'm hoping they're not waiting until April to bring her up, because she really doesn't have anything else to do down there. She pretty much did everything there. Julia and Obafemi are the new champions in their respective divisions, building up their brands on there. Hopefully Sean throws a bone to the men's division, but it's like, I definitely feel like with the involvement of Roxanne tonight, I mean, you're showing her on a SmackDown. Just bring her up. There's no reason to like prolong it. Sean, you got a lot of people down there. You don't need to worry about losing Roxanne.
Yeah, plus with this whole TNA deal, like you'll be able to have even a bigger pool of talent to kind of pull from and train up and all that. Like it'll be fine. But I mean, really, I could see it happening at Stand and Deliver, just because like they could, you know, maybe cook a little bit more with the story, or like the only other thing I could see them like prolonging is anything to like end the stuff with Cora Jade down there, which I know definitely your thoughts with when it comes to Cora Jade, but like, I mean, there could be a blow off with that, because I mean, didn't they like start something way like before Cora got injured, but they haven't really like touched upon because now they're both heels or something?
So like when it comes to the whole thing with like Cora, like she recently got a win over Kalani there. So I assume this is probably giving her some sort of opportunity for the North American title, or she's going to have some mini feud with Kalani or whatever. So it's like, at least to me, it doesn't seem like she has any indication that she's going to be heading up to the main roster. She's focusing on other people. She isn't really having as much segments with Roxanne. The last segment she really had is during the title where they try to pull that fuck finish before with like Julia the first time, and they obviously ran it back, but then they obviously weren't going to do it again, as I expected they were going to run it back again, and you ended up getting a new champion out of that. But I feel like, honestly, it's like what you did with Trick. You pulled Trick away from Melo, you let him establish himself, and it worked out for the best for him. You can argue that he's a bigger talent than Carmelo just based on the sort of pop he gets from the crowd and everything, not taking anything away from Carmelo, but I feel like if you bring Roxanne to the main roster, you leave Cora Jade down there, maybe that helps her find out her true self instead of having to be with Roxanne the entire time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I don't have anything else to add with that, I guess. So let's go ahead and just kind of move on here because we have tons of other stories we got to talk about. One of them being our WWE title picture. So again, we're building up to Cody Rhodes taking on Kevin Owens, and so tonight's chapter in this feud had a few different segments in it. First we had Rey Mysterio coming out to start the night, being like, "Hey, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna enter the Royal Rumble." Kevin Owens interrupted him. Now I didn't get to see most of this beginning segment because, again, technical issues on my end. But they kind of had a back and forth. It looked like Rey. It sounded like Rey compared Kevin Owens to Dominic at one point, which I'm like, okay, hold on, how and why? Like, what exactly did he say to like?
I think it's because he thinks that Kevin Owens was like being delusional about everything, calling him like the real world champion, everything along the lines of that, just really tapping into that's really all it was to me that I saw from it, which I guess if you're looking,
not delusional.
Oh, I know, but if you're looking from Ray's side of things when it came to all this stuff with Dominic, then I guess that's just his perspective with that or whatever. But they pretty much had him open up the show mainly because obviously he's from there. And it was an interesting thing to see because he doesn't normally open up the show. So that was a nice little thing that we saw. So I'm glad that he was able to open up the show and everything. And the big moment here, like outside the match itself that we saw, was that he announced himself to be in the Royal Rumble, which is great because one of the things we love about the Royal Rumble is how stacked the Rumble could be. And a lot of people have been saying, including me myself, that this is probably the most stacked Rumble that we've seen for quite some time. We got John Cena in this thing. I gotta put my finger out so I can remember. We got John Cena in this thing. We got Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, Roman Reigns. I believe LA Knight announced himself to be in there. Jey Uso even announced himself to be in there. So I guess that kind of spoils the result of the match. We didn't really expected him to win that. I didn't really expect him to win it anyway.
Look, all I'm gonna say is a WWE champion has been in the Rumble before. Like, look at Brock Lesnar 2020. Like, he was in there. Like, eliminated half the crowd and all that. Like, so it's not far fetched, but yeah.
And then you got Rey Mysterio also adding himself in there, which is another interesting thing because you could potentially get that stare down between him and Penta in the Rumble. They might look at each other as allies, or they might look at each other, which you should realistically do, as, oh, hey, you're in my way. I want to win this thing, so I have my ticket to main event WrestleMania. So that's the best thing about it. You get these stare downs. You see Penta and Rey. You could see Rey with, I don't know, Jacob Fatu, whatever, along the lines of that. Different people he could come across. You could potentially see CM Punk and Rey because they had a little program. They had a program all those years ago. So a lot of interesting things to just to see there. And also with like the TNA partnership as well, you could potentially see some names show up in the Rumble as well. You could see Joe Hendry. He has a world title match on Sunday. you could
He
potentially.
better win Sunday. That's all I'm
Yeah.
gonna say.
I feel like he has to. I
if,
feel like
if
this is like his second or third
he
time going
has
up
to,
against Nick Nemeth, so I feel like
he
you got to
he
give it to
should have
him.
won last year.
Yeah.
Like he should have won at a point last year, but they keep prolonging that, and it's like, okay, when are you guys gonna pull the trigger before he's out of your company and all that? Like,
And
come
then
on.
you also I also listened to the Chris Van Vliet interviews today at work. You also
Mhm.
have Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy potentially being there. You could potentially see Jeff Hardy staring down CM Punk. He mentioned
Mhm.
that he was just playing around and fooling around in an interview, but he mentioned if he were to come back to WWE, he would want to retire CM Punk to just reignite that feud one more
Yeah.
time or just get that face down, because that was a really good feud that the both of them had all those years ago. So there's like a lot of stuff to come in there. So Ray being thrown in there is another big name to add to all of the people being a part of the Rumble as it is. And I
Yeah.
found it like very interesting, like how this whole segment was structured, where you had KO come out, because I wasn't really expecting KO to come out, or whatever. I thought it was just going to be one of those things where it's like Ray announces himself and that's it. So it's nice we had that little change, and we had that little moment with KO and Ray in the ring, and then of course we get into the match.
Yeah. Yeah. We get a match announced thanks to Nick Aldis, who's like, hey, uh Ray just goes to him in the back. He's just like, hey, KO pissed me off. Okay, great. Have a match with him. But like even then we have a whole story segment, like a story through line for the evening too with Nick Aldis. Cause like apparently he has this addendum to the ladder match that's going to be happening at the Royal Rumble, and he wants
Yeah.
both KO and Cody to sign it, but neither of them want to sign it until the other one does.
Yeah.
And so I want to ask you really quick, what do you think the addendum is?
What do I think it is?
Yeah. Because like
Um,
we didn't get told what it was, The only thing we got told is like, hey, you guys are gonna sign this thing at Saturday Night's Main Event, and Shawn Michaels is gonna be, watching you guys, making sure you guys don't do anything bad or anything. But like, what do you think this addendum is?
I don't know, to be 100%.
Okay.
I think I might have missed that when he was talking backstage. I know you mentioned your whole idea that
Hmm.
it would make sense if they went down that
Yeah.
direction. Actually, yeah, it would make sense if it went down that direction, because I feel like we're starting to get into the whole territory of like CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. And the reason why I brought
Hmm.
that up, it's kind of like there's a lot of hostility between the two. It's almost like you gotta separate them and put them on different shows. So I would
Yeah.
feel like the best option to do, win or lose, regardless what happens in the match, is just move one over to Raw or wherever the case may
Yeah.
be. Especially if the match is gonna be like Cena and Cody at WrestleMania. Not saying Cena
Yeah.
can't go to both brands, because I'm pretty sure he probably will. But it's like I feel like that could actually, I'll let you like elaborate on your whole idea a little bit
Yeah.
more.
So like yeah, so my idea with this whole addendum is that it's gonna end up becoming a loser leaves SmackDown thing. So it's like, okay, that way we can kind of get again, we can split the two up, because again, they have animosity, and like Nick Aldis as a GM is somebody who wants to nip things in the bud like very early on before it destroys everything. And right now he's in this power struggle too right now, where it's like he can't really control Kevin because Kevin's basically become a loose cannon,
Hmm.
but in a way he also is starting to lose control of Cody right
Yeah,
now, because like Cody's starting to kind of big time him a little bit, being like, hey, I'm your champion and I want to do this. It's like, okay, that's cool, but I'm still your boss. And I like how Nick Aldis did do that tonight with Cody, being like, look, I don't give a crap anymore. You're signing this thing next week after we take both titles away from you guys and, hold them until the Rumble and you both have your fight. But yeah, I think this addendum is gonna, split them apart and have them go separate ways. Now, that's gonna kind of suck, when Orton comes back, is like, hey, if KO's on another show, how's Orton going to get his revenge on him? Which, I mean, we
yeah.
don't really have a big brand split because, people can jump back and forth. And I feel like Randy would be one of those talents that will be like, oh yeah, you could just jump back and forth. It's fine. But the main reason I think Kevin is going to be going to Raw and why this might be the addendum is I think his match at Mania this year is going to be Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
And the part of that reason too, and I saw this line was quoted on Twitter pointing this out. He had referred to Sami as like his former best friend, or it was some sort of wordings like that. And the last time like Kevin really like interacted with Sami, at least, you know, what I can remember in my mind, is right before he left for SmackDown when Jay came over to Raw. And Kevin was just like, look, I can't get behind this. You know what Jay did. You know what we went through to take those titles away from him and his brother. Like, I can't do this. You can do this, fine, whatever. But, like, I just can't. And I think with Kevin's character right now, he is really going to lay into Sami with it. And I think we got more seeds planted because of Seth Rollins on Monday, with him being like, you need to start kind of taking charge of your own life. You need to start being like, think more about Sami Zayn and not like Roman Reigns and all that stuff. And I think Kevin's going to take that line and take that sentiment and like really run with it against Sami over on Raw. But, yeah, like that's kind of where I'm thinking this addendum's going to be, and what it's going to be is, hey, whoever loses has to go over to the other show, because again, they want to keep telling the whole like, oh, there's a transfer window, blah blah blah. Like, okay, well, here's something you could use to really kind of push that narrative and all that. Like, use that little bit of story to, again, change something, make something new, and maybe enhance things too. Because like the other thing too is Jay's also on Raw, and Kevin can fight Jay then too. Because again, with this justified heel character of Kevin's, he can face Jay and take on all that. And also the other two guys who are on Raw that are also justified, that people keep saying, hey, let's do this group with Drew McIntyre, Seth, and Kevin Owens, the I'm Right Brigade. Like, we can have them form their little group on Raw, So, like, there's tons of possibilities that we could be doing with this. But, like, it all comes down to what this addendum is. So, if you're still in the chat after all this, if you're, watching the VOD and have the comment section up, let us know what you think the addendum is, because like there's many possibilities, there's many different roads that can go down. Like, it could be a thing where it's just like, okay, well, they'll become the actual undisputed champion. Like, there's things that they could do with this, but I'm leaning more towards the loser leaves SmackDown line. But yeah, with that being said, we do have a match between Rey Mysterio and Kevin Owens, and it's pretty much what you would expect between the two, because like these are two former world champions going at it, and especially with Kevin Owens being the character-driven person that he is, he does a really great job of like playing up with the audience, especially like the people around ringside, because again, we had Victoria out there just at ringside watching the match. He goes up to her and just kind of plays along with that. But also, Ray's family is right out there. And I love how his daughter, she's just like smiling at Kevin the whole time he's in her face. Like, she's just no-selling the crap out of this. And there's one moment too where like Ray slams Kevin like on the barricade right there. And his face is just like smushed on the mat of the barricade, like, but he's like right in front of Aaliyah. I don't know. It's just a funny moment and all that, but like, yeah, I thought the match again. It's what you would expect between the two, really.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that surprised me, or I guess kind of surprised me, I guess, was Ray kicking out of the stunner, because like, not many people kick out of the stunner.
No. And yeah, I thought it was a pretty good match between the both of them. I'm not entirely sure on the top of my head if we've seen this match before. The way that they were saying, I don't really think we have, but I don't really remember for certain. But it's like, it was a good match for what it was. It was nice to see him use the pop-up powerbomb to finish, which is kind of something I
Hmm.
wish he would do a little bit more, because I liked how Kevin Owens finishes the matches with that. Because you could easily do it for one of those things like we discussed with Sami Zayn on Monday, where you can use the stunner as like a setup to like stun them, where they're like spiraling out of control.
Hmm.
And then you could push them towards the rope. They come back at you, and you could do the pop-up power bomb right there, just like how Sammy can do a haluva kick and set up the blue thunder bomb that way. Because that's just been like a stable that I've seen with Kevin
Hmm.
Owens. I was just so used to seeing him use the pop-up power bomb all the time to finish his opponents. So that might just be a me thing, but that's just something that I like to see from him.
Yeah.
I'm just so used to that.
Hmm.
But we did see, Cody come out after the match, continue to brawl, and I mean, they pretty much did everything they possibly could for this match, because
Yeah.
I feel like they're just trying to throw a couple things in there
Hmm.
and just have just wait for Royal Rumble to come up, because there's
Yeah.
not really much they could really do with this. Like, it's just brawl after brawl, talk shit, get into
Hmm.
some altercations with Nick Aldis, have Shawn Michaels involved with this, which can be pretty interesting to see how that transpires. Like, imagine KO
Yeah.
tries to put Shawn Michaels in package pile driver, which, if we knew Shawn Michaels from all those years ago, I mean, you got to be careful. Got to have eyes behind the back of your
Hmm.
head. He could easily hit you for Sweet Chin Music if things
Oh yeah.
spiral out of control, because Shawn didn't hesitate in the slightest whenever he hit Sweet Chin Music on people. Like, he
Hmm.
literally did it almost like Randy Orton was hitting RKO's out of nowhere. Like, at least you expect it. He'll like look at you, play it off, and then he hits you with it. So
Yeah.
it's like,
And hell, like we saw just recently with him on NXT how easy he's ready to get
yeah.
into a fight, which leads me to a question I have, because uh, my one group chat brought this up, and I mean I know the answer, but I want to hear it from you. Do you think Saturday Night's main event? Do you think that's gonna end up setting up Kevin versus Shawn at Mania?
um,
Because we know he's been pushing. He pushes every year to have a match with Shawn at WrestleMania, and Shawn Michaels always says no.
who, KO?
Um, yeah. Apparently that's one match that
Oh,
KO keeps like bugging Shawn
I
about.
don't know.
Um, yeah,
I don't know if I want to see it, to be honest,
yeah,
because it's like,
like
I don't know if I really want to throw Shawn in a Mania match just to get him on the card, where you could have like
yeah,
other spots for other people. Like, if you want to have something for like Jacob, or you want to have something for somebody that doesn't have a title on there. I don't know if we really need to see Shawn there,
hmm
because
yeah. I'm kind of. Hmm.
I feel like with Shawn being there, I feel like it's more of like, hey, this is one of the OG guys at Saturday Night's main event that you actually want to see outside of Hulk Hogan, which they keep promoting in these commercials. I don't know why they're doing this. I mean, they got to look around the room to like, kind of like how
Yeah,
Tiffany Stratton did in her match, looked around, made sure she was aware of her surroundings whenever Bayley was coming at her. You got to look around your room. I mean, a lot of people appreciated what he did all those years ago. Rah, 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 rah speech about him
yeah.
bringing wrestling where it is today. We obviously
Eat your
understand that.
vitamins and take your things.
So, but it's like nobody cares to see him anymore, and there's a lot of people
No.
that are investing themselves. Which I was listening to Chris Van Vliet today. A lot of people were like, "Oh shit, Netflix on Raw was my first wrestling show. This was the first show
Hmm.
that I've ever seen." So it's like you're getting those new people in there. Nobody knows who the fuck that is. So it's like you're
Yeah.
pushing all these new names and stuff like that. And obviously you've seen from the premiere, nobody cares to see him there, and he's obviously going to be there since he's been promoted. But it's like, and then you see those
Yeah.
reports of like, oh, where he could potentially be heel and help build someone. It's like,
No.
I don't
No.
think you need that. I
We
mean,
don't
I'm
need
pretty
you.
sure they can build themselves. You don't always need to lean on other people to establish talent. I mean, I rather
Yeah.
I rather have Goldberg there instead of Hulk.
Yeah. I
If I'm
would
being
much
perfectly
rather have
honest.
Goldberg. Yep, I would
So
much
it's
rather
like
have Goldberg
I'm just
win.
very interested to see like how that's going to work. That's going to be very interesting.
One way they could get
I would love if he hit him with the sweet chin music. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great. You know, especially if Sean hit. Yeah, Sean hit Hogan with sweet chin music. Oh my gosh, it's 05 all over again. But what one thing that could get around with Hogan like getting booed and all that is, especially on the TV product, is have him just in a pre-tape thing. Because like again, you won't get the live boos and all that. You know, like, oh, you could get them if you're in the stadium, but you know, on the TV, on the product, yeah, you won't hear any boos on Hulk Hogan. So like, maybe it could be like a video package before the night or something. But even so, it's just like, just let's not with Hogan anymore. Let's not with him, please. But yeah, I mean, again, like you were saying, there's not too much more we could do with Kevin and Cody. I mean, the whole addendum thing for their title match, that adds another wrinkle to it, but again, we won't know what that is until next week, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
they say on
it's
SmackDown
interesting.
they're going to talk about it.
Either, I mean, they'll definitely bring it up at Saturday Night's Main Event because they both have to sign the contract and all that. They could bring it up on SmackDown, just be like, hey, that addendum, like, let's, because Kevin did say, hey, I need to read this over and all that before I sign anything. So it could be one of those things where like they either reveal what it is on SmackDown, or they just kind of keep building up the mystery with Kevin being like, hey, look, I read through this new contract. What is this in like section 4, autograph 3 or whatever? It's like, we could do that, but like, why don't you guys just tell us before Saturday Night's Main Event? But again, promoting, getting eyes on the product, wanting to get as many eyes on the product and all that. So they could always hold it off till then. But yeah, again, not too much more we could do beyond this until maybe they surprise us and all that. So let's kind of go ahead. Let's kind of divert now to some of our mid-card stories, because we got a few things to talk about here, especially with the this first thing. So the Bloodline saga, it's continuing on. Solo made his grand return tonight. Great, awesome, fantastic. But before he made his return, one of his brothers had a match. Jimmy Uso had a match against Carmelo Hayes. Now, this was set up because last week Carmelo was just like, hey, look, New Bloodline's got my back, so you might want to watch out. They had a bit of back and forth, and really even a bit of a back and forth tonight. Yeah. Like, they had a little bit tonight, too, with, like, Jimmy being like, hey, look, it's time for me to shine, time for me to step out and be my own guy and all that. Maybe I should win a title this year. Who knows, whatever. And then Carmelo, how did he respond? Oh yeah, how you gonna take shots at me when you're sitting on the bench? It's like, okay, cool. Not as good of a comeback as like that Brick comment last week, but like, all right, fine, cool, neat. But yeah, these two were cooking for a bit until, you know, the DQ finish and all that. But like, I gotta ask, because like I have an idea in my head about what's going on, but I do want to ask, what are we doing with Carmelo Hayes right here? Like, he keeps saying he's him, and like Tessitore was even bringing this up too on commentary. Like, oh, he keeps saying that he's him, like he's the best around. No one's ever gonna bring him down and all that. But like, he keeps losing. He keeps losing. Like he doesn't often win too much. Like, yeah, the best of 7 series with Andrade, that was a thing. There was 3 wins right there. Hey, he beat Braun Strowman via count out. Neat. Awesome. There's a 4th win. But like, out of the 32 matches he apparently had last year, just right there, he's only won 4. You know? So it's like, what are we doing with Carmelo? Because like, when you look at his presentation from NXT, like, again, he was him. Like, he had what the kids are calling aura now. But since being on the main roster, he's kind of lost that a bit. And he's kind of lost himself, you know, with pun intended, whatever. So, like, I kind of want to ask you because again, I have an idea, but I want to hear from you first. Is like, what are we doing with Carmelo Hayes on the main roster?
See, that's the thing, because it's like when Carmelo got announced to when he was a part of the draft and he was finally done with NXT and he was moved up to the main roster, I was expecting a lot more than this. Like outside of like the series of matches of Andrade, which was great, but you can't really say, oh yeah, you know, Carmelo did this, so you can't say he didn't do anything at all. It's like, yes, I understand that, but again, I can't base everything on matches because matches can only do so much. Like, you got to have some sort of direction with his character to feel some importance with him. Kind of like how you do with Braun Breaker. He talks his shit, he backs it up, he puts on good matches, etc., so on. Because compared to him and Braun Breaker has the red carpet rolled out for him. I mean, everything's pretty much been going in Braun's favor. I mean, he has a title wrapped around his waist, and he was a part of that draft as well. But it's like with Carmelo, it's like you said, you know, we had these series of matches, which was great, but, you know, you had those matches with Strowman, you had him looking like a chump with the new Bloodline today, especially when Jacob Fatu just clotheslined him there and everything like that. You probably thought, oh yeah, we're all heels, we're going to work together. No. He completely moved him out of the equation and took out all their frustration on Jimmy Uso. You could even say, well, Jimmy Uso and Carmelo Hayes had a pretty good match. Sure. But at the same time, it's like, what are we really doing with Carmelo Hayes? I want there to be a proper direction with him. Because I don't want him to be like one of those things where it's like he's going to play up his gimmick from NXT and just be this cocky guy, and then he always gets the shit beat out of him. Because you could have that work in NXT because not that many people are going to see it. But if you put it on main roster, a lot of people are going to look at him as a joke. A lot of people are not going to really care about him as much. And that's not me attacking Melo. That's just the way that the creative comes off sometimes. Sometimes when you do so much of a certain person, they're not going to take them serious if they're ever put on a if they're ever put in a situation where you need to take them seriously. That's why we got to really get the ball going at Carmelo Hayes. You got to really insert him into a program. It kind of makes me think, as much as we love the presentation of Nakamura, it almost makes me think you should have gave him that title at like that triple threat at Saudi. You could have easily done something like that to really establish him, and then you could have worked with him when it came to certain feuds or whatever. I mean, at least you're having him as the United States champion around that time, so at least you could work around that and see how you could really do things with Melo. But it's like, you look at the Royal Rumble this year, you could have easily made an argument if Carmelo was built up a little bit better. You could have easily said, oh, maybe this new guy has a shot. Can't really say that based on the presentation. You can't even say, I can easily see him being a part of Elimination Chamber. I have a feeling he might actually be a part of it. You could have a good showing there. You got to really do something with him. So it's like, the only thing I can really think of that might actually work with him, because I'm starting to think into the future. We're thinking of the summer. We're thinking about all these participants for Money in the Bank, something along the lines of that. I can't really give you a good answer on the women's side of things because we have a lot of names returning soon. We don't know what stories are being told. We don't know what sort of directions could be happening with those characters. But if they really want to have some sort of restart with Melo's character, and I understand maybe this is a whole slow burner because they can't really put Carmelo in anything, so everything's like pretty loaded right now, which, sure. But it's like, I could easily see him being a Money in the Bank holder. It fits his gimmick. It could potentially help him in the future. If it calls for it and he's established a lot more, you could easily do something like that with him. I mean, I just want the best for him, really. I don't want him to be, you know, completely down in the water after Trick comes up, because I know for a fact Trick isn't going to be treated like that. I know for a damn fact once Trick comes up to the main roster, he's going to be treated like the same star he was in NXT. So it's like, I want Melo to, I mean, we were talking about building up the women's division when it came to Tiffany Stratton and Lyra and Roxanne and all of them. I mean, this is one of your guys that could potentially be like one of your top stars in the division, like Breaker's going to be, and like Jacob Fatu is going to be, and all these other guys coming up, Trick Williams. So it's like, you got to do something with Melo. Like, it's just, I don't like seeing him getting bitched around in these segments all the time, because it's kind of like, what sort of story are you going to tell now with Jacob Fatu and Carmelo Hayes. Like, you're gonna have Carmelo Hayes go up against Jacob Fatu next SmackDown and have Jacob Fatu win that match. Would it be a good match? Sure, but it's like, are we continuing to put Carmelo Hayes in these situations? Like,
Yeah.
what's the payoff? Where is this
Yeah.
gonna go? Like, you could easily say, oh, just let it cook, let it play out. Like, what's getting played out?
So this is where I'll chime in with it, because like I think I see an idea coming from it. I think this is something where, like, in a way, they're gonna be trying to humble Carmelo a bit. Because, like, he comes in, first round draft pick for SmackDown. Cool, awesome, great. All this hype behind you. And, your first match on the main roster against the WWE champion, the poster boy, the face of the company, all that stuff. Like, that is your first match on the main roster. You lose, yeah, that's to be expected, but, like, that's now your starting point, is your first match against the top of the top. It's like being in, I've been replaying Wukong, like Black Myth Wukong a bit, and like the first fight you have in the whole game is against the guy who is the hardest boss in the damn game, and you're already like Wukong and all that, but like then you lose all your power, so then now you're this new monkey who has none of those powers, so now you're starting from the bottom, and that's kind of where Carmelo is right now. But like him himself, he's not realizing that all the shit that he talks isn't worth it. Everything that he says, he's not able to walk the walk, really. And the moment for him to realize all that, and for the moment for his character to like start growing and start becoming him again, it's going to be when Trick gets into the main roster. Because once Trick comes into the main roster, because I'm in agreement with you there. Because like I hear those crowd pops, I hear the crowd singing along with his theme music and all that. Not only just in the shed whenever they're doing the weekly programs, but when they're on the road, when they're doing like the big shows, like the takeovers and all that. Like I hear those crowd reactions for Trick. People are behind him. I remember the freaking crowd reaction he got when he ran in during SmackDown that one time. Like, that was the main roster. Yeah, that was the main roster crowd and all that, like, reacting to Trick Williams. So, I think once Trick gets to the main roster, and, like, there might be a moment there where it's like actually humbles Carmelo, because like there was a point where Carmelo was a face on NXT for a bit. Now I don't remember too much of that work because I think his gimmick kind of works better as a heel, but there's something there that you could really tell a very compelling story about, cockiness and like kind of, reminding yourself like, okay, maybe I need to be a little better in the ring. Maybe I shouldn't be so cocky, and like maybe I should take things a little bit more seriously. Like that could be where they could be going with it. But again, like a lot of that I know is, headcanon or like head, booking and all that. But like it's a way that I'm like that's how I can kind of be like, okay, I'm in like that wait and see process where it's like, okay, let me see where we're going with all this. Because like if the journey to get there is that destination, like if that is the destination for this journey, then like yeah, I'm all here for it. Because like again, that's something that you could really it's a story that you could really teach young people, because like that's the thing, like let's be honest here, like a lot of kids watch wrestling, my nephew being one of them. He's 10 years old right now and he's watching wrestling and he has a lot of questions and all that, and like I try to also instill some of those beliefs too in there, like okay, maybe don't be so cocky, oh, you see what happens when you don't listen to this one person, or oh, you didn't watch your back, you see what happened to that person, like things like that, where like you can really kind of teach kids these lessons that can inevitably like help them grow into a better person. And like that's one thing they could do with Carmelo, because like Carmelo, he's got the look, he's got the it factor. you know, that mystical like sixth sense that people have, or like whatever it is. But he has that, and it's just like right now his presentation isn't showing that, but it might be by design, you know. And again, I say might. I've said this could be headcanon or whatever, but it's just like, again, it's a way for me to process what this story might be. Yeah, again, I could be talking complete bullshit, whatever. I don't care. We could go down like a couple months from now and nothing's changed, and then I'll come around and be like, okay, yeah, this is dog shit. Like I'm not the first and only. It won't be the first or only time that that's ever happened. Speaking of which, there was a moment in the match, like not to change gears or anything, but like there is a moment in this match where it kind of took me out of it a bit, and it looked like I wasn't the only one. It was the moment where like because like Jimmy and Jay have that thing where like they hit somebody, they'll do that little like arm wave thing and then hit them again. That was kind of awkward tonight. I'm not gonna lie, because like I think Carmelo missed his timing a little bit on it, and went back to kind of hit Jimmy again, but also like I don't know, it was just weird timing with all that. But like other than that, like they were cooking all match, you know. But yeah, it's just we're in this weird spot right now with Carmelo, and I'm looking forward to when we start pushing him a little bit more and maybe building up his character and everything. But again, I could be just talking on my ass. That's it wouldn't be the first time. I'm just gonna throw that out. It wouldn't be the first time. But unfortunately, this awesome, pretty dang good match was ruined by Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga coming out with a big old DQ finish, getting Jay disqualified, getting Jimmy disqualified and all that, beating him up and everything, and out comes Solo. And it's interesting, I'm glad you brought up the WrestleVotes thing in our group chat, because apparently the original plan was for Solo to start the night and to kind of talk about his loss to Roman. But instead, those plans got changed, and instead, Solo is out there with the mic. He's about to start talking, but he just doesn't. He ends up putting the mic down, taking his jacket off, and just walking away. And I love the sell of Jacob Fatu here, because like he knows what Solo's going through. Like he can feel it, And this is kind of what I was talking about last week, with like there's going to be a moment where Jacob just starts going crazy and starts just going bananas and like beating people up or like taking charge and all that. And we got that this week when he grabbed that mic, and the heat this man was getting was insane. It was pretty dang good. Like Jacob knows how to work the crowd, like telling people to shut up and all that. Like, but it wasn't just like him saying all that. It was just like the emotions coming out of him, just like his overall body language. Like this man really knows how to sell what happened, because like he spent months of the past year being like, I love you, Solo, like being behind Solo Sikoa and all that. And now seeing somebody that he kept praising, kept being behind, fall to what he is now and just react to how he is now and how like the world's reacting with him now. It's some powerful stuff. Like it's some really compelling stuff too, talking with like a TV sense and all that. But I've talked a lot. I've talked plenty. I want to hear your thoughts on this whole Jacob Fatu promo that we got, because it was really good.
So, I like how they're pushing the story forward, and I like how we didn't really follow down that whole WrestleVotes report of Solo opening up the show and addressing his loss to Roman, because I feel like we've just seen certain things like that way too much. So I feel like if they did that again, it would be like, I don't know. I don't know if I would really care for it that much. So I like how they took a different approach, where it's like they had Solo come out there. He was going up to the microphone like he was going to say something, but then he walked out, because I feel like that does a lot more to the story, where you tell a better story of Solo probably feeling not too confident in himself after that loss of Roman. So then you tell that story, and then you tell the whole thing with Jacob Fatu stepping up, taking things in his own hands, I like how that whole thing is being played out as well, because then you have the whole thing where it's like, okay, now we're getting a new direction of Jacob Fatu. Now this could potentially push for something to really elevate his character, which I really appreciated. Like, that was probably something
Mhm.
that I really liked when it came to the whole direction of the segment, besides like what the original report was going to be, because I felt like that definitely added a lot more to the story rather than just Solo cutting a promo and everything. I definitely felt like that was a lot better. My only complaint with this thing, like outside of that,
Mhm.
is the whole LA Knight involvement. Because I'm fine
Yeah.
with the whole announcement of um Jacob Fatu versus Braun Strowman, because that was teased a few weeks ago, so I'm happy that they capitalized on it. But I'm honestly not really too fond of LA Knight right now when it comes to his overall presentation, because it's like we've seen
Mhm.
him with the bloodline already numerous times, and now he's getting involved with them again. And now we're seeing him having a match of Tama Tonga next week. And it's like, this is why I've been saying in the chat that you need to get LA Knight off of SmackDown. He's doing the
Yeah.
exact same stuff that he did before he entered that mid card picture. Because if you guys look back, before he entered the mid card picture and he went after the title when he was going up against Logan Paul, um, that was like right after his loss that he had with that title. Like, he had that one opportunity to go after it again. Then, that moment came to a halt and he ended up
Mhm.
heading down a different direction. And then that's when we had that whole thing play out between him and the United States Championship after he finished that whole feud of AJ Styles around that time. So now we're
Yeah.
venturing back to Bloodline. So it's kind of like, why do we keep doing this? Like, what is this really going to do? You're going to give him a win over Tama Tonga. You're going to have him have a little feud with the Bloodline. Like, really, just put him on Raw. Wrap up this whole
Yeah.
transfer window. Put him on a different show. Have him get introduced to other talent that he hasn't really had the opportunity to really have any programs with. We haven't seen him have anything with Seth Rollins or Bronson Reed whenever he gets back, or all the stars that we normally see on Raw, like a CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, etc., so on.
Mhm.
Just put him in a different show so he feels like he could do other things, so it's not always the same stuff that we see all
Yeah.
the time. Like, that's my only complaint with this segment, was just the LA Knight stuff. It's like, outside of that, the stuff with Solo and Jacob Fatu, it was great. And that was the right move that
Mhm.
they decided to do with that. But it's like the LA Knight stuff, not really a fan of it.
Yeah, I mean, no, I feel you there because, like, yeah, you could move him to Raw. Hell, you could put him into a program with Gunther. I mean, Gunther definitely needs
Yeah.
some good talent to defend that title against, and something to actually for him to actually do on Raw. That's not retreading the Jey Uso thing, but yeah, that I think the biggest thing from all this is the fact that we're getting Braun Strowman and Jacob Fatu at Saturday night's main event next week. Like, uh, again, I think I said this before we went live and all that. Like, Jacob Fatu hasn't had many singles matches in WWE.
Mm-mm.
Like, the last one I can think of is the one before War Games to get the War Games advantage and all that. So him going against Braun Strowman is gonna do wonders for his stock. Like, they're gonna skyrocket, and those two big beefy men are gonna just beat the living crap out of each other. Like, it's gonna be a hard hitting affair, and Jacob Fatu, he should go over. I mean, I don't see why, because like Braun's also in that spot where it's just like, okay, great, you're part of the company, you're also fantastic, former world champion too, but time for you to put over some new talent. And if we really want to solidify Jacob Fatu as his big force, have him beat Braun Strowman clean. Like, you were able to have Tiffany Stratton go over Bayley clean tonight. Have Jacob Fatu do that to Braun Strowman, and then maybe after the match, do more of a beatdown and all that stuff, and maybe take Braun out for a bit and all that, just kayfabe and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like this is going to be leading us towards him and Roman at Mania this year, because like the timing of it is just it's a lot better than it's been in the past, because like we've had them stare down each other, all that stuff in the past few months since Roman's been back, and they've kind of gotten physical and like tag team stuff and all that, but never really anything one-on-one. And I think this is going to be where we're leading towards, because like again, with Jacob Fatu's overall demeanor the past couple weeks, again, it's that visual storytelling we get, that show don't tell mindset of it all, where it's like we see not Solo, sorry, we see Jacob, just he's sad, he's a sad monster boy, he's a sad Broly, whatever, and now he's finally going to be taking charge. He's finally going to be, stepping up to make things, or at least how he feels, make things right and all that. And like, oh man, you could really do a compelling story with Jacob Fatu. And I mean, I know he's supposed to be the heel in all this, but like you could pull some like really big good strings from this, where it's like, you can give his reason for loving Solo. Like Solo like gave him reason to, excel and do something. He brought Jacob Fatu up from like the streets or whatever, like you could do like a story like that, like, oh, I was nothing without this business, I was nothing without being part of Solo's group and all that, but because of Solo bringing me in, because of him showing me the WWE way and all that, like I'm super uber grateful for him. And Roman, when you were tribal chief, you were never like that, you just left us to die almost. Like, gosh, it's almost like hear me out with this one. It's almost like that pack of lions from from Lion King 2, where they're just like, oh, you cast us aside, and Scar was the only one that cared for us, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you kind of do a story like that. But, yeah, man, it's just, this is just really good. It's like, we're in a new chapter now with the Bloodline Saga. And this is the chapter I think a lot of us have been waiting for. It's just like that moment that Jacob Fatu's able to kind of burst out and start kind of showing everybody what he's truly about. And not only just him, but like Tama Tonga too has a chance, and Tonga Loa when he comes back too, like they all have a chance now to kind of just break out from all of this, like you want to build them up as these heathens, like Paul Heyman the other week before we had the tribal combat match was building them up as like these forces that you really didn't want to mess with, and you really didn't want to just even be around. And hopefully now we can start kind of showing all of that. So yeah, I mean, this was really good. I thought the match was really good. I thought the storytelling was excellent as always. Some of the pre-match promos we got with Jimmy and Carmelo, they were pretty dang good. I guess the last question I have, because like Jimmy did mention, hey, maybe it's time for me to win some solo gold. Do you see him winning any singles titles in 2025?
Not anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like nothing anytime soon, unless they, again, like what they did with Jay, being like, oh, here's your bone, have the IC title for like a month, okay, give it back to Braun, bye. Like it could be something like that they do, but not yet. I don't think the timing's right for him yet. But all right, well, we're gonna move on then, because again, tons of stories to go through tonight and all that. So next thing we're going to talk about is our wonderful tag team division. We had Los Garza taking on Motor City Machine Guns, again set up because we're having like this unofficial tournament for the tag titles, and we start off too tonight. Like Santos is hyping up his boys, and I like one thing he was saying here with like, if you want respect, you take it. No matter who it is, no matter who it's from, you take that respect. And it's like, all right, you know what? Great. Awesome, little speech to kind of get your boys riled up and all that. But like, again, like a lot like the other two matches we talked about tonight, this match cooked. And when I say cooked, like they were doing things I've never seen before with like tag teams, like different tag team maneuvers. Like there was this one where what was it? I think Garza had one of the guys in a just like carrying him and all that. And then they put the other one on like his shoulders, like in a powerbomb situation. And then one of Los Garza like springboarded from the ring to like hit them, and they did like this almost like a world's strongest slam into like a power bomb kind of thing, double team maneuver. Like I thought that was really cool. And then like there was a reverse whatever, I forgot what the world's greatest tag team called their finisher, like their double team finisher. But like it was like a reverse version of that, and of course with like Motor City Machine Guns, all their offense and all that. But like this is what we were hoping for with the tag team division, and especially with Motor City Machine Guns being part of that tag team division, just elevating everybody and like really stepping up their game. And I thought like just the past few weeks that we've had with Los Garza, especially on TV, like they've been really good, and they've really been like up in their game. And I mean, it's not just them either. All the tag teams have, and I don't mean I don't want to just say, oh, it's because of the Motor City Machine Guns, but you know, when you look at the tag teams from SmackDown and the tag teams for Raw, it's kind of hard not to say, hey, thanks, Motor City Machine Guns, for boosting our tag team division. But what do you think of this match before we get into like the story of it all?
I thought it was a good match. I mean, this is something that we need to see with the tag division because, like I mentioned earlier with the rundown, this is something that's been absent for quite a while when it comes to the tag division. So it's nice to see everything on track again. It's nice that the story is being told here because
Hmm.
it's just something that was an ongoing issue for years. So it's nice that it's finally um it's nice to see that's finally getting some attention put into it. So I really
Oh,
did like that. And also the match was great too. I mean, there's really
yeah. Hmm.
nothing else I can really say about that. And we have Motor
Yeah.
City Machine Guns defeating Las Garza. Another thing I like about this as well is that Las Garza was actually able to show what they're capable of. So they're not just out there for 3 minutes and then losing the match. Like they're actually showing like what they can do in the ring. So that was very nice.
Hmm. Oh yeah, yeah, very nice stuff going on inside the ring. So I do recommend, going back and watching this for anybody that wants to watch some fun tag team wrestling. But unfortunately, we did have distractions going on in this match. We had Pretty Deadly coming out. They meant to really distract Motor City Machine Gun, so they would lose the match and Los Garza would get this tag team opportunity and all that. Unfortunately, that backfires, and Motor City Machine Guns ended up taking up the win and all that. And we had later on DIY chastising Pretty Deadly in the back, being like, hey, why'd you help Motor City Machine Guns there? And just like, we had Champa just putting Pretty Deadly down so hard, and then like you have Gargano kind of being 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 like a slime ball in a way,
Yeah.
of like trying to play the nice guy, but it's just like, oh, you're kind of being backhanded with your niceness and all that. Okay, fine, whatever. And then Cruz just shows up to get beaten up by Gargano. Now I'm just gonna throw this out there as a super early WrestleMania prediction. I think Pretty Deadly are going to win the tag titles at WrestleMania.
It's possible. I mean, it looks like they might be heading down for like a baby face turn.
Hmm.
So we'll see how
Yeah,
that comes out.
yeah, and
I
I think that's going to be part of this. Yeah.
yeah. Um, all I'm really seeing like at the end of this, because we have what Motor City Machine Guns against Pretty Deadly next week. I feel like
Yes.
what's gonna happen with that? You're gonna have Motor City Machine Guns win. You'll have the match between DIY, Motor City Machine Guns, and I feel like that's just perfect for
Hmm.
Street Profits come back because we can't forget about them because they're also
Yeah.
a part of the story as well, and their whole story too is they haven't won tag titles for, so I would even throw them
Mhm.
in there for a potential tag team win at WrestleMania too.
Oh yeah, like they're also up there. Like again, these are super duper early predictions and all that, but like, yeah, I could definitely see them as well. Like maybe what we could do with that is like do a tag team gauntlet at WrestleMania. So it's like, that's something different from like the ladder matches we usually get between tag teams, or especially this past year with our tag teams and all that. But like, it could be something really fun to do. That could be kind of cool. Um, yeah, I mean, nothing. I don't have anything beyond this. Just again, an early WrestleMania prediction from me. I don't know if you got any more that you noticed.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, again, this one was pretty paint by numbers, which again is fine. Not everything needs to be like a super duper banger and super deep. You need the things that are just like, what, something moved along. We understand this. We get this. Cool. Moving on from all that, and moving on, we will to the next segment of Bianca Belair and Naomi taking on Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. This was a rematch that we had from what was it, like a couple weeks ago, before Tiffany Stratton cashed in and all that. So yeah, I thought this match was okay. I
Yeah.
thought Bianca took on a lot of the offense in this match, and there were some spots that were kind of sloppy, like mainly from the heel side of things. I don't know if there were like miscommunications. There were some like kind of whiffs and all that with some moves and everything, but like, there were some planned miscommunications with the heel team that eventually led to their downfall. But yeah, I mean, I'm assuming after this, maybe Nia's just gonna cut Candice loose because Candice could be a better singles star than this instead of being Nia's lackey. But
Yeah, I don't, I
that
don't,
might
I don't,
just be me. Yeah,
yeah, I don't really know what's going on with Nia Jax. I mean, she appears on Raw. She has some sort of interaction with
yeah,
Rhea Ripley. Now she's here on SmackDown, not even paying attention to Tiffany Stratton. I honestly thought we were going to get at least
yeah,
one match out of it just to get that whole rematch because WWE 101 lost my title. I at least owed one rematch. Again, it's
yeah.
good that we're not really going down that route with the tropes, but it doesn't really seem like
Hmm.
she's not even paying attention to Tiffany. She's just working with Bianca and Naomi for this time being and everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like the biggest thing to really pull out of this is not even what happened within the match itself, because the only thing you could really pull out of the whole story in the match is the whole thing with Bianca's braid because of what happened last week.
Hmm.
But the only thing that you could really pull out of it is like the whole backstage segment where before the
Yes.
match they were
Yeah. I
talking
missed
about the
this. So what
leads.
happened?
Pretty much what
Yeah.
happened is they were Bianca went up to Naomi. She was apologizing for last week when Candice distracted her during the match with her braid and she
Hmm.
accidentally hit Naomi. And Naomi mentioned before that, actually before Naomi mentioned before that they haven't found any leads with Jade yet, like what happened with Jade, who was the person that took her out, everything along the lines
Hmm.
of that. And then that's when the whole conversation of Bianca and her had about the whole braid situation took part, and then they headed into the match. And the funny thing about that
Okay.
is during that segment itself, you actually had Jade like make comments on Twitter. She's been doing this a
Hmm.
lot lately, where he was mentioning trying to find it. Oh yeah, she
Oh.
mentioned right here.
Um. Yeah.
She's like, "You sure?" Like
Yep.
talking about, we haven't found any leads. Are you sure?
You
So
positive about that?
I
Like.
want to see who said that. Was it Naomi? Oh yes. Oh yeah.
I don't know.
It was Naomi. I was watching it. So it's like that's obviously
Okay.
playing into that. So I'm really curious to see how that's going to take off. If I'm a betting
Hmm.
man, I would say Royal Rumble. Jade makes her return because there's already been reports about her being in the performance center, training, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I would feel like she would return in that Rumble, obviously to play into the whole storyline going on of Bianca and Naomi right now when it comes to Hacker. And I don't know why a lot of people in the community are saying Jade's gonna come back as a heel, because that doesn't make any sense. Like, why would she come back as a heel after she got
Yeah.
taken out by somebody? That doesn't make any sense in the slightest. So it's like it's either Bianca or Naomi that's the culprit, or even
Hmm.
both of them. And we do
Yeah.
have a title defense taking place between Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend. You could potentially get a title change there, but at the same time, I
Hmm.
feel like there won't be a title change unless Jade comes back and costs them the titles. And I don't know if they really want to save that for an NXT episode. Like, that doesn't seem like
Yeah.
something that they would want to do on NXT. It would be nice for a change, sure, but it's like that's something that you would probably do at like a SmackDown. That just seems like
Hmm.
something that's like more up that alley, because at least you got a 3 hour show. You got to tell all these different kinds of stories. You could easily factor that in there, but
Yeah.
we don't know. I mean, could they very well
Yeah.
lose the titles to them? Sure. Could that be a way to tell the story even more? Because at this point, they didn't really need the titles. But my
Hmm.
biggest question is like, who did it? Like, a lot of people
Yeah.
think it's Naomi, and I want to believe it's Naomi, and it very well could be, but I just feel like it's too obvious at this point. Because you had the
Yeah.
whole thing with Naomi coming out saying, "Oh, all of you guys are saying it's me, yada yada this, yada yada that," and a lot of people are believing, yeah, it's Naomi, but it could potentially be a curveball where I wouldn't be
Hmm.
surprised in the slightest if like Bianca Belair is doing some behind the scenes work, because if you really think about it, the whole excuse of Bianca is like, oh, well, she didn't do it because she was a part of the tournament for the U.S. title. Like, why would she give up a title like that? And you think about it
Yeah.
realistically, it's like Bianca's above that title. She was only included in that match to give star power to that tournament. Bianca's always been a
Yeah.
main event player going after the WWE Championship for the ladies or the World Championship for the ladies. She's always been put there. So it's like her getting
Yeah.
taken out of this, also being a tag team champion. I mean, I don't. Does it really matter if she loses an opportunity like that, especially if you want to cover your case? So it's kind
Yeah.
of like if Bianca comes back, I mean, when Jade comes back, it's like, I mean, they could very well lose. She could very well come back around that time and cost them the tag titles. And you could easily tell the
Hmm.
story there. But I don't know. Like, I think she's coming back at the Rumble just to have that whole shock thing where she plays it off, but then you find out who the culprit is in the ring. Because I feel like the thing we normally see at WrestleMania is a lot of these different kinds of stories being told, because it's like you have Logan Paul eliminating Seth Rollins that one time. That was pretty much the WrestleMania match for Seth that year. Then you have other things
Yeah.
transpire within those matches where hypothetically CM Punk could throw Roman Reigns over the top rope. Roman Reigns could throw CM Punk over the top rope. Or Jacob Fatu could just super kick Roman Reigns and he falls out, whatever, and then you could
Yeah.
build to those matches. So, what do you think going on with this whole Jade thing? Like, you still convinced it could be Naomi, and even if it is, I mean, something being predictable doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. Or do you believe this could be possibly Bianca?
Hmm.
Because I did mention something earlier in the day, and and for all I know, it could just be a whole bunch of garbage. But the merch that
Yeah.
she had come out looked like very heelish. But
Hmm.
that doesn't necessarily mean that, oh yeah, Bianca's turning heel just because her merch looks that way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what do you
Exactly.
personally feel like is going on with the story when it comes to the whole culprit? Like, do you think it's Naomi still? You think it's her and Bianca, or you think it's Bianca as a whole? Because a lot of
See.
people's argument is, well, Bianca is a merch seller. A lot of people look up to her, and it's like, I mean,
That's
Rhea
fine.
Ripley,
Yeah.
everybody loves her. She was a heel. At one point, she still sold a lot of
Hmm.
T-shirts and shit. A lot of people still
Yeah.
liked her, so it's kind of like,
Yeah.
can't be afraid to
Like
pull the
you can
trigger.
you can still be a heel and do like charity work and all
Yeah,
that. I'll say because like we had a moment. This was like a few months ago where freaking Sheamus and Drew McIntyre go into a school for kids and all that. Like they visit kids and do all that other stuff. And I'm almost positive Drew does a lot more charity work than that too.
oh
But it's
yeah,
like that's just an example and all that. But like, I think I'm still in the boat that thinks it's both of them, just because of how both of them kind of act with each other, and because like I mentioned this too when they first started tagging with each other. They have really good chemistry as a team, a lot better than Bianca and Jade did.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like the main motivation was from Bianca because she probably felt threatened with her whole EST gimmick and all that
Yeah.
by Jade and all that. But like because Naomi's there too, it's like, okay, well, we both kind of feel this way perhaps.
Yeah.
Especially Naomi, because like Naomi put in a lot of work outside of WWE, to like boost her stock, and then she comes back in and it's like, okay, well, I'm not top person around here, and somebody who I considered a friend, she kind of replaced me, but like her and I are still cool, but there's just this third wheel that's just there, and oh, you don't like her? Well, I mean, I don't really care for her either, so we could just take her out, and I could take her place, and then we
Yeah.
can get the ball rolling on everything. Because, like, that's the other thing, too. Naomi, when she left the company, she was still a tag team champion. So it's not like she dropped the title or anything. She left as the champion. So really, she didn't lose that title. So in a way, like you can kind of justify her actions too, to be like, okay, well, I want the title that I never lost. I want to be the tag team champion again too. And it's like,
Yeah.
I could get another teammate to do this. However, I also know that you, Bianca, yeah, we're friends and all that, but I know you don't really care for Jade that much, or like you feel this jealousy. So hey, let's
Yeah.
team up a little bit, and maybe we can do that and all that. So like, it could be a justification like that. But yeah, I think it's gonna end up being both of them.
Yeah.
Because again,
Yeah.
I think it'll freshen up both of their characters
Yeah.
dramatically. Like,
Yeah.
because that's the thing. I like their in ring work. They're really good in the ring, but it's just like their characters, especially Bianca, for almost a year now, I've thought she's been kind of stale. And
Yeah.
Naomi, I
Not
mean,
used to
she's
seeing
hit or
that.
miss too. Do what?
We're not used to seeing Bianca like that.
Yeah, exactly. Because she is a good character and all that. Like I believe her and all that. But like then I think back to like the NXT Bianca, where the EST gimmick was really hyped up to 11, and it's like, oh, that's the Bianca that we could have. Like
Yeah.
her, again, it's just having that little extra bite to really make your character mean more than what it is. So yeah, I'm in the boat that thinks it's both of them.
Because you also got to think about it like this too. They have this WrestleMania streak of Bianca currently. Like she's currently
Hmm.
undefeated at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you got to have her in some sort of match to really defend that streak.
Hmm.
And I can't see her being in a nothing match where she's not on the card. You know for a fact they're not
Yeah.
leaving her out of all people off the card. So um I mean it would be good if you did some sort of heel turn with Bianca, Naomi. You could factor Jade into that or whatever. I'll see how it like plays
Hmm.
off next couple weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially with like this. Okay, so I thought I saw the graphics say January 28th for the defense, but hold on, 25 is next Saturday. 25, 26, 27. It could still be the 28th. I don't know, but like cuz Tessa Toro on commentary was like, "Oh yeah, this coming Tuesday." I'm just like, "Wait, but I saw 28 on the graphic." I don't know. I have to go back
Yeah,
and look. But
I
if it
remember
is the
seeing that. Yeah,
28th, do what? Sorry.
I remember seeing 20. Not sure what he's on.
Okay. Yeah. It might. Well, I'll check the screenshot
Yeah,
later. But because the interesting part with that's the go home week for Royal Rumble.
yeah,
So you could always do a thing where it's just like Jay doesn't actually return, but like let's say her music just starts playing, and you kind of get like this shocked face from both Bianca and Naomi, and that's enough of a distraction for Jakara and Lash to win the match
I would
and all
assume
that.
can't probably
And
pin Naomi.
Yeah, exactly. To like kind of keep Bianca looking a little bit stronger, but like also maybe excuse me, maybe continuing that like, oh, who done it kind of thing, because like they could both have a reaction, and that leads again to Naomi costing the win and all that. And like you could build upon it for the rest of the week, being like, oh, Jade, teased coming back, but both of them reacted, so we still don't get the answer of who done it until the Rumble. And then
Yeah.
when the Rumble happens, then when Jade comes out, you can have both Bianca and Naomi out there, and then when she comes out, like it's all three of them standing up in the ring. You have this stare down, and we find out who did it through whoever Jade attacks first. But again, if it's both of them, it could be like a ruse kind of thing where it's just like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna attack Naomi first, and Bianca's like, yeah, we're the ESTs, right? But like, nah, it was you too. Like, I don't trust you either. So, okay, see you later, bye. Again, that's just an idea to pull out, but like that, it's interesting that they're doing that defense the week of Rumble. I think that's a interesting placement for that match.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but that match actually has me more intrigued than what we got tonight, because again, like it was sloppy at times, but yeah, it didn't. Again, it was a rematch that we got like a couple weeks ago, and it wasn't even for the title. Like it wasn't even for the tag title. So it's just like, okay, why are we doing this? And like you brought up the whole thing, like, okay, Naya's not focused on Tiffany right now. It's just like, well, I mean, it could be one of those things where it's like, okay, well, I did this match with Candice, we lost, and I'm tired of dealing with other people with trying to get what I want. Candice, I'm dropping you. Tiffany, I'm gonna drop you too, because I'm done with dealing with people. I work better
Yeah.
solo and all that. Like that could be where we go from there. Because like I think like again, this match not being for the titles was really just something to kind of just end what happened last week. So I don't know. We'll have to see what happens going forward with all that. So let's kind of go ahead and transition and talk about our last segment of the night, which was all to do with our women's U.S. title picture. We had B-Fab taking on Piper Niven, which was set up earlier because in the locker room we have Michin. She's kind of venting to B-Fab about how she almost had Chelsea last week, but if it wasn't for Piper Niven, I would have been the women's U.S. champion. And of course, say her name and she appears. We are believing in our what's she call her? Like her not Secret Service, her Secret Hervis or whatever it was. Piper comes in, basically says, "Hey, coast is clear. Come on in, Chelsea." And Chelsea, like, I love the gimmicks that they're doing right now of like Piper being basically her Secret Service and all that. So I don't know, it gets a little chuckle for me. But of course, we got Chelsea coming in, bragging how she won. B-Fab's like, "Oh, uh, I'm gonna beat you up," but Piper gets in the way. We have a match set up, great, awesome, and I mean, I wish this match got a little bit more time, just so B-Fab had more time on TV. But I mean, this match was what it was. I don't have like many notes beyond that, other
Yeah.
than we're continuing. I guess we're continuing Chelsea and Michin through adding B-Fab,
Yeah.
but yeah,
I mean, all this really was, it was just establishing the division for the mid card, which was
hmm
something that we'd wanted to see with the title to begin with. So that's pretty much like what this was. I was
yeah,
a little surprised that B-Fab didn't go over because I thought she was going to be next in line for Chelsea
hmm
Green. Like she was going to beat Piper Niven to get through the bodyguard, and then you could have possibly got a match at like Saturday night's main.
yeah.
I don't think there's any women's matches announced card yet. So I thought that was going to be
Ooh,
something announced there, but I guess that's
yeah,
not the case. So it's like I don't really have like much thoughts beyond that. I mean, I
yeah.
guess it really makes sense to have Piper never lose another match again. But I'm
hmm
just very curious to see like where this is going, because it's like you can only run back Me Chin and Chelsea Green for so long. I honestly felt like the last match they did should have been the end of it, and then you could
It
have honestly
yeah.
gone to B-Fab and Chelsea Green and could have done a little bit more with that, which I'm hoping they do. So at least it's
Mhm.
not always the same person the entire time. I feel like we should move on from the Michin thing. Honestly, just have it be B-Fab. Really,
Yeah.
establish her, do something with her. Michin had her opportunity. I don't know if I really want to see a triple threat or anything along the lines of that.
No. No. And I mean the only other way I could see them like pushing B-Fab to the Chelsea Green like title match and all that is if they do again like we've been bringing up tropes all night tonight. They could always bring up the trope where it's like, all right, let's have a tag team match, and then B-Fab pins Chelsea in the tag team match, and that's like, oh well, technically I pinned you, Chelsea. They give me my title shot, so they could always run with that trope. Which I mean, they're in the stage of whatever this feud is right now where they could do that, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, again, like I saw some complaints too. It's just like, oh, 3 hour SmackDowns need to stop because now we're getting matches like B-Fab versus Piper Niven. It's like, come on, guys, come on. Like Drop said, we're trying to establish our division for this title.
Yeah, it
You
doesn't
know,
have to be
like,
crazy or anything. I didn't even think this match was
yeah,
crazy at all, but they're just trying to
mm-mm.
throw some bones.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's doing what the purpose of that title is, and why we wanted women's mid card titles to begin with, is to give them something to fight for and something to do other than chill out and catering, waiting for either a tag team title shot or a women's title shot. And with the sometimes rare occasion of a women's feud that doesn't involve a title, but whatever. Like, yeah, not much to say beyond all that from either of us here on the team. So, with that being said, I think we've talked about SmackDown plenty enough. I thought, SmackDown overall, I thought, it was paced really well this week. I thought it didn't really drag at places, even though, I had some technical issues on my end. But I mean, I thought it was pretty good. It was just paced really well. I didn't feel bored at many times. Like there were some times where I'm just like, all right, let me just kind of go on Twitter real quick to see how everybody's doing. But like, yeah, I mean, overall, I thought the night was good.
Yeah, I thought it was like I said earlier in the beginning. I thought it was a lot better compared to what we got last week. So that's definitely the direction we should be heading, because that whole week as a whole outside of that NXT show was like wasn't really feeling it outside a couple things
Hmm.
within that week itself, but definitely are getting back on track. Hopefully we
Oh yeah, yeah. We're slowly figuring out what we want to eat for WrestleMania. So once we have the Royal Rumble, go through our menu and all that, we'll have what we'll want, and we'll be cooking all that. So you know, hey, at least Vash's fan made it in time to hear the outro and all that. Because yeah, Vash is dealing with some Jerry's right now. Again, what was it? Was it Jerry's cousin who was like super buff or something
yeah.
that ended up coming to beat up Tom? Yeah, yeah. That's what's happening to Vash right now. He's got one of those like super bulky mice just trying to beat up him and his lady and all that. But hey, everybody, that was the show. Great, awesome, fantastic. We're making our way down the road that is 2025 in wrestling. So, if you want to follow us and check out all of our other stuff, we do have a bunch of handles, as you can see right below us. Um, everything is right there for you. All of our ats. Use the hashtags of Weebs of the Ring and all that to talk to us and everything. And we are very social creatures. So be sure to give us a shout. Me and Drop have our own singles content that we release and all that. So check our channels out as well as checking out the main channel, Anime We Studio, because we have tons of shows going out there. We have Off the Bins that talks about seasonal anime coming out. We've got the Anime Lately podcast, which talks about anything to do with either anime, manga, cartoons, video games, TV, movies, whatever's going on in nerd culture. We'll be talking about it over there. We'll be entering February with that, so get ready for some lovey-dovey talks and all that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. It's gonna be a great time. But yeah, anything you want to plug while we're here nearing the outro and all that?
I will say that I am off to a head start when it comes to next week. I already have 2 videos privated, so I can at least
Ooh.
enjoy the weekend and have to worry about doing content, getting ready for Monday and Tuesday. Because when we do the shows like this, when it comes to our Raw coverage, I kind of like to get my content all situated for that day and, of course, the next morning because we tend to actually show around this time. I don't want to really rush to have something scheduled for that night. I want to make sure I can just, go to sleep, get some time to recharge
Mhm.
myself. But I know next week I have we're continuing our coverage for the Chucky series. I'm on Curse of Chucky, so we're on that movie. Gave my thoughts on that one. That video's coming out on Monday. Then Tuesday I made a video about Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. So that video is
Ooh,
coming out on
nice.
Tuesday because I like to put out at least one Pokemon video within the week because I know a lot of you
Mhm.
guys on there eat up those Pokemon videos regardless how you guys feel about my thoughts about certain things. Just remember at the end of the day, when I make videos like that, it's just based on my personal experience, and I had a lot of fun playing those games with friends, especially when you do the 9th gen, which I understand people have a lot of
Mhm.
mixed opinions on Pokemon regions nowadays, but I'm at the point where it's like I'm not gonna even go there anymore. I'm just gonna play the game, not even go to that point where I'm like in that world. So it's like
Mhm.
I try to make the best of it. I try to have like a positive attitude on the channel. Obviously, I call stuff out. I mean, you guys saw my criticism on Seed of Chucky. Everybody hates that fucking Chucky movie. Gave my personal thoughts on that film. So you guys know, obviously, it's not always rainbows and unicorns over there. We obviously call things out that needs to be addressed. But those are the 2 videos so far to look forward to. I'll probably try to put them out. The
Mhm.
Nicktoons video is doing very well today. Appreciate the support on that. I put out a video on Pokemon Heart Gold. I mean Pokemon Sapphire. You gotta eat that up a little bit more. Hopefully you guys can
Yeah.
tune in and check that one out. But yeah, that's all I have to really plug. Besides,
All
of
right.
course, we'll be back here on Monday
Yeah.
for Raw.
Yep. Yeah.
Hopefully
And
another
I
two
guess
and a half hours, please.
oh my god, please. That was perfect timing. Oh my gosh. But I guess just a little cheap plug for me. Expect a well, I do have a JoJo's live reaction that needs to go up. I'll probably get that up sometime this weekend because of timing and all that. But for my regular weekly content, expect a title match. And if you know what I mean, if you don't know what I mean, go to my channel and check out the other title match I had because that's gonna be a series that I'm gonna be doing a little bit of and
Yeah.
trying to evolve that into something fun. So be on the lookout for that. And of course, our normal Weaves of the Ring content. We got Monday Night Raw coming, we got SmackDown,
Yeah,
we'll
grappling.
probably be talking about Saturday night's main event, and of course we got something new coming out for you guys on Thursday. Just some news coverage and some other deep dive conversations that we're going to be starting called Grappling with the Week and all that. So be on the lookout for that coming out on Thursday. And yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that, guys. So thank you once again for taking time out of your day to listen to the Weebs of the Ring podcast. If you enjoyed what we had to say, again, all of our handles right down below, all the links down in the description, all that wonderful stuff. Go check it out, have some fun, have some good discussions. Just keep everything nice and neat and orderly. But also be sure to use the hashtag Weeds of the Ring. So again, you can interact with us, and it's a very easy way to kind of see the conversations going on. And also, feedback is always appreciated, as we are nothing without any of you guys tuning in, and we do like to improve our content whenever we can. Weaves of the Ring is presented by Anima We Studio. Thanks again to our production team for all of the hard work that they put in every single day and every single week we do these episodes. And thank you once again. And as always, people, no stunt grannies were harmed in the recording of this podcast. Have a good night, everybody.
See you guys.